We are waiting on some more people to sign on today. We are going to be looking at today a recent shiro for this Women's History Month by the name of Fannie Lou Hamer. And we will do that in lieu of what we were scheduled to look at today, which was the biblical character of Ritzpah. Dr. Buhuro will be back next week to give us more in examining Ritzpah in the scriptures. And perhaps this will give us some actual background to kind of give a biblical view and then a real life view of, in some ways, a real life Ritzpah in Fannie Lou Hamer. So today, just want to kind of go over the life of Fannie Lou Hamer. Awesome shiro and an incredible freedom fighter among our people. Ritzpah and Fannie Lou Hamer. What a combination. So I just want to give us a little more time for a few more people to sign on, and we will begin our discussion and examination of Fannie Lou Hamer. And so want to thank those of you who I cannot see on the YouTube channel. It would be nice if you just sent a high rev or a thumbs up or something, because you are able to conceal yourself on YouTube, and so I don't know actually who's on. I'm just going to wait a minute or two more for others to begin to sign on visibly, so that I know who's with me. So again, if you are viewing and you are concealed, I don't mean you have to stay unconcealed, but a thumbs up and a hey would be kind of nice, for me to know. I don't know, how much we have, examined about Fannie Lou Hamer's life, but it is an incredible and in many ways painful story that we want to look at. Hopefully we'll be able to do that. Well, hello there, Kathleen. Good to see you. Glad you have signed on. Awesome. And it is about 12:05, and I did want to kind of see if who else was going to sign on. As you can see, I am not Dr. Buhuro. She is not feeling well and is trying to do some recovery. And so we celebrate that she's take a little time for herself to mend, to heal, to feel better. So so today I'm sitting in. Normally I have the engineer's chair where I'm navigating the comments and the stream. But today I'm going to be more up front and not behind the scenes. I actually prefer behind the scenes when Dr. Buhuro is throwing down, because I do learn so much. But again, she is not feeling well today. So I'm gonna sit in and fumble around a little bit. Y'all be patient with me. Kathleen, I'm trying to see who is with us, but they're concealed. I'm trying to get them at least to pop up and give a thumbs up or something, because I know there are folk that view us oftentimes, and they are in the concealed category, and that's all right. It's just nice to see who else is tuning in. But nevertheless, we are going to move forward. So yeah, I guess some folk taking their time about moseying on down to the YouTube stream this morning. So yeah, how are you doing, Kathleen? And by the way, did you listen to that that clip I sent you? Let me know if you did. Yeah, I want to get a chance to talk about that clip with you offline, but let me know if you did get a chance to check it out, and maybe we can chat about it a little later on. So yeah, here we are on Tuesday, and I am going to in just a moment. It is 12:08. At 12:10, I am going to start. We'll be talking about Mother Fannie Lou Hamer. A warrior who passed on way too soon, but had to endure way too much. And I won't say she carried it well. I will say she persevered for her purpose. Okay, well, yeah, send me a text when you do, so that way I'll give you a call and we can chat about it. Awesome, awesome. It is 12:09, and once again, at 12:10, we're gonna get started, and we'll do our best to make our way through. Again, yeah, Mother Fannie Lou Hamer, whose famous quote, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." What a powerful quote. And it expresses, no doubt, the feeling of so many Black people, in particular in this country, but across the span of the diaspora, across the world, and including on the continent. It adequately expresses the sentiment of many of our people. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so it is 12:10. Let us begin again for this Women's History Month. For today, I just want to run down, some of the points of the life of Mother Fannie Lou Hamer. born October the 6th, 1917, ascended to the realm of ancestor March 14th, 1977, the year that I graduated from high school. Mother Fannie Lou Hamer was the last of 20 children. Did you hear me? She was the last of 20 children born to Ella and James Lee Townsend. Her maiden name was Townsend. In the county, in Montgomery County, Mississippi. Early in life, her family, the animal stock that they were raising were poisoned suspiciously and mysteriously. And Fannie Lou always believed it was a hateful and racist-filled local white man that she really believed had poisoned their animal stock because they were beginning to do well. Fannie Lou often commented about that incident that white people cannot stand it when Black people are doing well. In 1919, she and her family moved to Sunflower County, Mississippi, to work as sharecroppers on the plantation owned by W.D. Marlowe. From 6 years old, Fannie Lou Hamer picked cotton with her family. The winters of 1924 to 1930, she attended the one-room school that was created for sharecroppers' children, and it was only open between picking season. So when picking season, of course, was going on, they didn't allow the children to go to school. She developed a love for reading and reciting poetry, but at the age of 12, she had to leave school to help her aging parents do the sharecropping work. At age 13, Fannie Lou was picking between 200 and 300 pounds of cotton a day. All this while she was living with polio. She was picking 200 to 300 pounds of cotton a day while dealing with polio. It was at church, the church that she and her family attended, that she kept up her reading skills, and she acquired this ability as she read the scriptures. She had this ability to connect the scriptures to liberation of Black people in America. She developed this ability to see in the scriptures liberation that was being lifted up in the different characters and the different episodes of scripture. And she saw in the scriptures a connection to the liberation struggle of Black people in America. And this is at a childhood age. And so in 1944, her literacy was discovered by the plantation owner, and he made her the timekeeper and the record keeper. In 1945, she married Perry Pap Hamer. Perry, nicknamed Pap Hamer. And he was a tractor driver on the same plantation, and they remained there for the next 18 years. She and Pap always wanted to have children and build their family, but during a surgery to remove a uterine tumor, she was subjected to a hysterectomy without her consent by a white physician, a white surgeon. this forced sterilization was a common method of population control in Mississippi. In that Sunflower County, there were many Black women who were sterilized without their consent, because though the white people in the state of Mississippi, those who were the politicians and those who were running the business of the state, decided that they were going to control the population of Black people by targeting poor Black women to sterilize them with what Fannie Lou Hamer called a Mississippi appendectomy. In other words, hysterectomies without these women's consent. Fannie and Pap, they later raised 2 girls that they had adopted. Now, one of the girls died of internal hemorrhaging after being denied admission to a local hospital because of Fannie Lou Hamer's activism. The hospital refused to admit her daughter because of Fannie Lou's activism work, and her daughter died of internal hemorrhaging. We've just already laid out a tremendous amount of trauma that Fannie Lou Hamer had to endure. I would be just amazed at how Dr. Buhuro would begin to break this down for us and address the kind of trauma that Fannie Lou Hamer, just at this point in her life, had to endure. But regrettably, there's more to come. In the 1950s, Fannie Lou Hamer got involved with studying and engaging in the civil rights movement. She heard leaders in the local movement speak on voting rights and civil rights and etc. And she heard them at a gathering called the Regional Council of Negro Leadership, the annual Regional Council of Negro Leadership that was held in Mound Bayou, Mississippi. Let's do a footnote right here. Mound Bayou, Mississippi is a city in Bolivar County, Mississippi. It was founded as an independent Black community in 1887 by former slaves led by a brother by the name of Isaiah Montgomery. In the 1940s, and please, I'm only giving just brief brushstrokes here. I am laying this out that you might then now go and do further research, not only in Fannie Lou Hamer's life, but the Mound Bayou is something we want to really do some research. Kathleen says, killing the Black body, race, reproduction, and the meaning of liberty. Dorothy Roberts talks about the Mississippi appendectomy. Thank you so much, Kathleen, for posting that. And I pray that those who are viewing and will get a chance to view will look up that book, and then, as I said, look up the city Mound Bayou. In the 1940s, Mound Bayou began to thrive after a hospital was opened there. When from its founding, cotton began to lose its value, and Mound Bayou fell on very, very hard times. In the 1940s, it began to be revived because the hospital was opened there, the Taborian Hospital. Now, here's another footnote that I'm asking that you all will begin to research. The Taborian Hospital was created by the International Order of 12 Knights and Daughters of Tabor. This is an African-American fraternal organization. And in the 1890s, the group had this fraternal organization of Black people. In the 1890s, it boasted a membership of over 100,000 members in 30 states in the US and the West Indies and England and on the continent of Africa. This International Order of 12 Knights and Daughters of Tabor created this hospital in Mound Bayou, and the hospital provided low-cost health care to thousands of Blacks in the Mississippi Delta. And so there was a chief surgeon at the Taborian Hospital there in Mound Bayou. The chief surgeon's name was Dr. T.R.M. Howard. Again, here's another name that needs to be researched, and I'm praying and I'm hoping that we're taking these down. Now, if I was the engineer, I would post these different parts in the chat, but I'm not the engineer today, so I'm not able to do that type of posting. So I'm just hoping that as I'm mentioning it, and as Kathleen has posted, the killing the Black body, race and reproduction, and the meaning of liberty, that those who are watching and those who will watch will take these notes down and do this research. That chief surgeon, Dr. T.R.M. Howard, gotta look him up. Howard became one of the wealthiest Black men in Mississippi, owning over 1,000 acres of land, a home construction firm, and a small zoo. He built the first swimming pool for Black people in Mississippi. In 1952, Medgar Evers, a World War II veteran, moved to Mound Bayou to sell insurance for Howard's business, the Magnolia Mutual Life Insurance Company. Howard introduced Medgar Evers to civil rights activism through the Regional Council of Negro Leadership. Amen. Thank you, Kathleen, for posting that. Again, this Regional Council of Negro Leadership that Howard had helped organize, Medgar Evers, Howard introduced Medgar Evers to it and the civil rights activism. And the RCNL organized a boycott against service stations that had refused to provide restrooms for Black people. These rallies of the RCNL drew tens of thousands of people between 1952 and 1955. In fact, at the trial for the murderers of Emmett Till, Black reporters and witnesses, they stayed in Howard's Mound Bayou home, and Howard gave them armed escorts to and from the courthouse all that summer. In other words, Howard had some brothers that were strapped, y'all, that made sure that the reporters and the witnesses during the trial not only stayed in comfort at his house, but he provided armed escorts and armed protection for them. Howard was a mentor to Medgar Evers, to Fannie Lou Hamer, and so many others. Again, thank you so much, Kathleen. In 1962, Fannie Lou attempted to vote, but she failed the literacy test and was denied the right to vote. Now, let's stick a pin there. She didn't fail the literacy test because she was not literate. She failed the literacy test because they didn't want her to pass the test. She was then fired from the plantation that she and her family were working on for a living. Her husband, however, was made to remain on the plantation until harvest time. She was fired and told to get off the plantation, but her husband was made to work until harvest time. She moved from home to home for the next several days for her own protection. She was shot at over 15 times in drive-bys by racists. She and her family evacuated the area and went to nearby Tallahatchie County. Tallahatchie, that ought to ring a bell. Tallahatchie County, they stayed there for 3 months evading the Ku Klux Klan. She went back to the registrar, however, and attempted to pass the literary test. She attempted it 3 times. 2 of those times she failed. On the 3rd time she passed, but she was still not able to cast the vote because her registration, her vote meant nothing because Mississippi had passed another law stating that unless you had 2 poll tax receipts, you still couldn't vote. Fannie got involved with SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. She attended SELC events and workshops. She became field secretary for voter registration and welfare programs for SNCC. In 1963, on one of the freedom rides with others, the bus that Fannie and the rest of the freedom riders were on, it was stopped in Winona, Mississippi. Many of them were taken off of the bus. Many were beaten bad, but Fannie Lou probably received the worst of the beatings in this. When she was taken to the cell, the white officers beat her with blackjacks until they were tired. And then they went and got 2 black inmates to beat her further with blackjacks until they were tired. Every time she screamed, they beat her harder. This is her own testimony. And when they were holding her down, but she was squirming, trying to keep her dress down. And a white officer walked over, seeing her trying to keep her dress down, pulled her dress up over her shoulders, exposing her to the 5 males that were in the cell. The white officers groped her, beat her. She was released on June 12, 1963. And it took over a month for her to recover, and she never, ever fully recovered from that. 1964, she helped to co-found the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, and they traveled to Atlantic City, New Jersey for the 1964 Democratic National Convention. They were lobbying for a seat. They were the delegation that represented Mississippi at the time. And the Democratic Party, led by Lyndon Baines Johnson, along with Hubert Humphrey orchestrating behind the scenes, refused to seat them. They tried to compromise. They wanted to compromise with Fannie Lou's party. And Fannie Lou said, we didn't come this far to compromise. And so, just horrible, y'all. The Democratic Party. In 1964, Fannie Lou unsuccessfully ran for Senate. In 1971, Fannie Lou co-founded the National Women's Political Caucus. Fannie Lou also, with other members of SNCC, traveled to Africa. And that's a whole nother section that at some point we're gonna come back to and we'll talk about, because it's not often talked about. and I don't have the time that I would like today to really delve into it. Her travels to the motherland, to the continent, along with the other SNCC members and some of the experiences they had there. But Fannie Lou Hamer passed away March 1977 at the age of 59 from complications from hypertension and breast cancer at the Taborian Hospital in Mound Bayou. She was buried in her home area of Rouville, Mississippi, and her tombstone reads her famous quote, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." That's right. And I was going to mention that, Kathleen, thank you so very much. With the help of Julius Lester and Mary Barella, she published her autobiography, Praise Our Bridges, and autobiography of Fannie Lou Hamer. There are other books about Fannie Lou Hamer, but you probably want to read what she wrote and look at what she said, so that we can have a conversation with this ancestor without, as Greg Carr says, without interpreters. So her autobiography, and then some of the videos that are posted about her. So at this point, I want to just, it is probably about 8 minutes. I want to go to the video of her at the Democratic convention in 1964, and her testimony that Lyndon Baines Johnson did not want to be aired, but it did get out. So bear with me just 1 second. Let's see if I can bring this up. 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. Wow. Let me see if I can bring this up. And unfortunately, it does not look like I am going to be able to bring it up. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So let me see. Okay, no, I'm not able to bring it up right now because we're already on YouTube. But I will try to at another point, we'll try to get a copy of that, her testimony, because it's worth seeing. I'm just sorry that I am not able to do it. Oh, wait a minute. I think I got it. I thought I had it. Oh, let me see. Okay, no, hold on. Bear with me.
Mr. Chairman, and to the Credentials Committee, my name is Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer, and I live
Can you
at
hear that?
626 East Lafayette Street, Rouville, Mississippi. From South County, the home of Senator James O. Easton and Senator Stinson. It was the 31st of August in 1962 that 18 of us traveled 26 miles to the county courthouse in Indianola to try to register to become first-class citizens. We was met in Indianola with by policemen, highway patrolmen, and they only allowed 2 of us in to take the literacy test at the time. After we had taken this test and started back to Roosevelt, we were held up by the city police and the state highway patrolmen and carried back to Indianola, where the bus driver was charged that day with driving a bus the wrong color. After we paid the fine among us, we continued on to Roosevelt, and Reverend Jeff Sonny carried me 4 miles in the rural area where I had worked as a timekeeper and sharecropper for 18 years. I was met there by my children who told me the plantation owner was angry because I had gone down prior to register. After they told me, my husband came and said the plantation owner was raising Cain because I had tried to register. And before he quit talking, the plantation owner came and said, Fannie Lou, do you know, did Pap tell you what I said? And I said, yes, sir. He said, well, I mean that if you don't go down and withdraw your registration, you will have to leave. That then if you go down and withdraw, that you still might have to go because we are not ready for that in Mississippi. And I addressed him and told him that I didn't try to register for you. I tried to register for myself. I had to leave that same night. On the 10th of September, 1962, 16 bullets were fired into the home of Mr. and Mrs. Robert Tucker for me. That same night, 2 girls were shot in Roosevelt, Mississippi. Also, Mr. Joe McDonald's house was shot in. In June the 9th, 1963, I had attended a voter registration workshop, was returning back to Mississippi. 10 of us was traveling by the Continental Trailway bus. When we got to Winona, Mississippi, which is Montgomery County, 4 of the people got off to use the washroom. And 2 of the people to use the restaurant. 2 of the people wanted to use the washroom. The 4 people that had gone in to use the restaurant was ordered out. During this time, I was on the bus. But when I looked through the window and saw they had rushed out, I got off the bus to see what had happened. And one of the ladies said it was a state highway patrolman and a chief of police ordered us out. I got back on the bus, and one of the persons who had used the washroom got back on the bus too. As soon as I was seated on the bus, I saw when they began to get the 5 people in a highway patrolman's car. I stepped off of the bus to see what was happening, and somebody screamed from the car that the 5 workers was in and said, get that one there. And when I went to get in the car, when the man told me I was under arrest, he kicked me. I was carried to the county jail and put in the booking room. They left some of the people in the booking room and began to place us in cells. I was placed in a cell with a young woman called Miss Vesta Simpson. After I was placed in the cell, I began to hear sounds of licks and screams. I could hear the sounds of licks and horrible screams. And I could hear somebody say, can you say yes, sir, nigga? Can you say yes, sir? And they would say other horrible names. She would say, yes, I can say yes, sir. So I said, she said, I don't know you well enough. They beat her, I don't know how long. And after a while, she began to pray and ask God to have mercy on those people. And it wasn't too long before 3 white men came to my cell. One of these men was a state highway patrolman. He asked me where I was from. And I told him Roosevelt. He said, we are going to check this. They left my cell and it wasn't too long before they came back. He said, you are from Roosevelt, all right, and he used the curse word. He said, we're going to make you wish you was dead. I was carried out of that cell into another cell where they had 2 Negro prisoners. The State Highway Patrolman ordered the first Negro to take the blackjack. The first Negro prisoner ordered me, by orders from the State Highway Patrolman, for me to lay down on a bunk bed on my face. When I laid on my face, the first Negro began to beat. And I was beat by the first Negro until he was exhausted. I was holding my hands behind me at that time on the left side because I suffered from polio when I was 6 years old. After the first Negro had beat until he was exhausted, the State Highway Patrolman ordered the second Negro to take the blackjack. The second Negro began to beat and I began to work my feet. And the State Highway Patrolman ordered the first Negro had beat to sit on my feet, to keep me from working my feet. I began to scream and one white man got up and began to beat me in my head and tell me to hush. One white man, my dress had worked up high. He walked over and pulled my dress. I pulled my dress down and he pulled my dress back up. I was in jail when Medgar Evers was murdered. All of this is on account of we want to register to become first-class citizens. And if the Freedom Democratic Party is not seated now, I question America. Is this America, the land of the free and the home of the brave, where we have to sleep with our telephones off of the hook because our lives be threatened daily because we want to live as decent human beings in America? Thank you.
I just don't know what to say. Every time I listen to Mother Fanny talk, rage and hurt just well up in me. This is a wicked country. There are some evil people in this country. And the half is still not told. So I really just wanted to sit in for Dr. Buhuro today, kind of on this Women's History Month, to lift up another powerful name who is a part of that great cloud of witnesses that James Weldon Johnson wrote about when he said, we have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading a path through the blood of the slaughtered. So I'm really gonna have to end here. I really can't go any further. So we'll keep this in the archives, and I pray that others, those who are concealed, and Kathleen, we can pass it on and share it. For those who may not can see, Kathleen says, I can understand the anger. It is ridiculous that we have to be subjected to this type of abuse and oppression over and over and over again in the country that claims to be the home of the free, the land of the free and home of the brave, a country that claims to be a democracy. Thank you. The speeches of Fannie Lou Hamer, Tell It Like It Is, to tell it like it is. Thank you so much, Kathleen, for that. These are references that I pray that each of us will not only look at, but research. From Mound Bayou to Dr. Howard, to the 12 Nights and of Tabor. All of these are, and of course, up to and including Mother Fannie Lou Hamer. These are persons that we now are inheriting a legacy that we have to carry on for them. And the only way we can do that is to understand what their mission was and pick up that baton and carry it on. So thank you again, Kathleen, and those who are watching. I got to sign off now. It's just, I just need to sign off. So I appreciate you and thank you for tuning in. And don't forget, next week, same time, and Dr. Buhuro will pick up with the Old Testament story of Rizpah, 2 Samuel, the 3rd chapter. So thank you again, and bye-bye.